Hello, this is Shea. First, I want to apologize in advance because this blog is going to deal with a very sensitive and disturbing topic. But I believe God wants me to discuss it. I've had several confirmations, and only tonight, a gentleman I was talking with told me about a friend of his whose neighbor just last night took her own life. She put a bag over her head and suffocated herself. Sadly, it's much more prevalent than many realize. Over the holidays, there were many who took their lives, many who attempted. Statistically, it is not confined to any age or any race or status. I suppose you gather by now the topic is suicide. As a suicide survivor, I feel that I can speak on this topic. There are some very sobering statistics. According to the World Health Organization, there are approximately 1 million suicides per year globally, which means there is one death every 40 seconds. That's very sad. In 2018, suicide was among the leading causes of death in the U.S. That makes it the 10th leading cause. So obviously there are many people around the world who are hurting, but afraid to reach out, afraid to admit, too proud to admit it. Some suffer silently. Others are afraid of the stigma or what would happen to them, repercussions. Some you'll never know, but put on that front and make believe that everything's okay and then deal with it another way. Troubled children, troubled teens, people in college, women, middle-aged men, elderly. At a time when my own life crashed, I too felt the depths of despair. I never thought that I would be suicidal or think those thoughts, but when you are hopeless or feel or think things are hopeless, you come to that point. So I'm not one to point a finger at others who are struggling, but thank God He pulled me through that. And it was only God, because nothing and no one else was able to reach me for that time period. I did attempt a few times, and thankfully I made it through. But there are many who don't and who are not able to rebound. For me, it was a God thing. He is the one who, through the efforts, through the caring of my mother, reaching out to a woman who happened to be a Christian. The depths of my despair was exacerbated by abusive situations, hopelessness, thinking and feeling and believing that God didn't love me anymore and had abandoned me. But I understand it was part of a bigger plan, which now makes sense, but did not then. After several attempts, and thank God I was not able to get my hands on a weapon, at one point I had crushed 90 sleeping pills and took them, and was angry with God that I did wake up. And a month after that, a woman came to take blood from my mother for tests, and she happened to ask this woman, who was a Christian, if she would pray for me. And reluctantly I said okay, but I had cashed out at that time, even though all my life, having loved God, I had felt close to God, but at that time obviously did not. And she prayed like a matador for an hour. I felt the presence of God. I felt God smashing into my spirit, igniting my spirit back to life. I felt God flood me with His Spirit. He healed my angry mind, my thoughts. He healed my broken heart. My health took a big hit. That's still I'm still in build back with that. But I say that to say that nothing else worked for me. Nothing anyone could say or do, no thing or therapy or sermon or anything made any deep or lasting impact. It was just God reaching down and coming to rescue me. And it was His love that brought me back to life. And since that time, April of 2015, I'm more alive than ever in my life. I'm more sensitive, stronger, wiser. So I'm grateful for that. But for the people who are still struggling, who will be struggling, who continue to struggle, and for those who have taken their lives, my heart is grieved, and my heart is grieved for those who are left behind. My mother's mother took her life. She had lost her husband. She put my mom and my sister in an orphanage, and she struggled with that. There was no one there for her. She was in her 20s. She reached out for help. She cried out for help. No one understood. No one got it. No one came to her rescue. And one day she drank Drano, and she left this world. So, that's a hard thing. And another cousin of my mother's had lost his wife. He was a young man. I think he was in his 30s. And he too reached out. No one got it. No one heard him. He kept saying, surely there must be someone who will love me. And then one day he pulled the trigger. So sometimes we're sensitive and we hear other people. Sometimes we fail to hear. Sometimes we fail to reach out. We fail to let people know that we're hurting, or we give up. We don't think that anyone can or will be able to help us, or can or will care. So I'm going to leave it with this thought that try to be more sensitive. Reach out. Pray for those in need. Help when you can. For those who are struggling, my thing is always to seek God. That's who helped me. I know there's counseling. I know there's medications. I know there's church. I know there's therapy. What works for one may or may not work for another. But I send my blessings out to all, and let's try to be more sensitive.